Welcome to EduRev, your one-stop source for insightful and exam-oriented current affairs that help you not just stay updated, but stay prepared for the UPSC Civil Services examination. Today's episode takes us through key developments across environment, economy, international relations, and Indian society. So let's dive right in. First up, environment. Delay in carbon-free shipping plan. The International Maritime Organization, or IMO, has postponed its global carbon-free shipping plan by 1 year, mainly due to opposition from the United States. Now, why does this matter for UPSC aspirants? Because questions on climate governance, global cooperation, and sustainable transport often appear in both GS Paper 3 and the essay paper. Shipping contributes about 2 to 3% of total global CO2 emissions. The IMO aims for net zero by 2050, but the delay shows the growing divide between developed and developing nations over who bears the cost of climate action. For you, the key takeaway is to remember the institutional framework. IMO is a specialized UN agency, and to analyze how politics can influence environmental commitments globally. Next, India's elephants and their growing survival challenge. The Wildlife Institute of India's new report estimates around 22,446 elephants, significantly lower than the 2017 figure. But here's the catch. This drop is due to a new DNA-based estimation method, not necessarily a real population decline. For UPSC, this is vital under topics like biodiversity conservation and human-wildlife conflict. The Western Ghats remain India's largest elephant habitat, but habitat fragmentation from development projects is pushing elephants closer to human settlements, increasing conflicts. This shows how conservation is no longer just about protecting species, but about balancing ecology and development. Moving on to international relations. The new arc of India-Australia collaboration. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's recent visit to Australia marked a major step forward in Indo-Pacific cooperation. This partnership has moved from strategic dialogues to actual operational and industrial collaboration. For your UPSC preparation, this ties directly into India's foreign policy, regional security, and Indo-Pacific strategy. India and Australia are now conducting more joint military exercises, co-developing defense technologies, and strengthening logistics agreements, all while responding to China's growing influence in the region. Remember this as an example of strategic convergence in the Indo-Pacific.
Now, turning to the economy. India's private investment puzzle. Despite high GDP growth, India faces a worrying decline in private investment. Private sector participation has remained below 30% of GDP for nearly a decade, meaning the economy is driven more by consumption than productive investment. From a UPSC lens, this is crucial for GS Paper 3 and Essay. You can use it to discuss the limits of consumption-driven growth and the need for structural reforms. Government schemes like PLI and corporate tax cuts have aimed to revive private investment, but the response has been sluggish. The question is, can India achieve sustainable growth without robust private sector participation? Continuing with economy. Revisiting the Rangarajan poverty line. A recent RBI study has re-estimated poverty across 20 major states using updated consumption data. The results? States like Odisha and Bihar have seen massive reductions in poverty rates since 2011 to 12. But there's more. The discussion is shifting from monetary poverty to multidimensional poverty, which also considers education, health, and living standards. This update is a must remember for GS Paper 3 and for essay topics related to inequality and inclusive development. Now, let's turn to history and culture. The Bathao religion of the Bodo community. For the first time, Bathaoism, the traditional faith of the Bodo community in Assam, will have a separate code in the national census. This reflects India's recognition of its cultural diversity, an important theme in GS Paper 1. Bathao means 5 principles: earth, water, fire, air, and sky, forming the foundation of Bodo cosmology. It's a beautiful example of how indigenous traditions integrate environmental consciousness into daily life. Next, on Indian society. The We Rise initiative for women entrepreneurs, launched by Niti Aayog's Women Entrepreneurship Platform and DP World. The We Rise initiative aims to support women entrepreneurs through mentorship, finance access, and trade partnerships. This aligns with the government's vision of women-led development, a theme that's central to both GS Paper 2 and GS Paper 3. It's also a great example of public-private collaboration for inclusive growth. Back to international relations. The UPOV Convention and Seed Sovereignty. A recent report by Grain warns of increasing corporate control over seeds due to trade agreements enforcing the UPOV 1991 Convention. Under UPOV 1991, farmers lose the right to save or reuse seeds, threatening traditional agricultural practices. This issue connects directly with food security, farmers' rights, and intellectual property regimes, all high-value UPSC topics. And finally, in governance, rotavirus vaccine success story. India's indigenous vaccine Rotavac has significantly reduced gastroenteritis cases among children since it was added to the Universal Immunization Program. For UPSC aspirants, this is a brilliant case study in public health governance and the success of indigenous innovation. It also reflects India's progress in self-reliant vaccine manufacturing, a theme linked to Atmanirbhar Bharat. That's all for today's episode of EduRev Current Affairs Daily. If you found this helpful, don't forget, you can access detailed summaries, quizzes, and UPSC prep materials on the EduRev app, available now on the Play Store and iOS App Store. Stay curious, stay consistent, and keep learning, because every fact today is a potential question tomorrow. See you in the next episode.